Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon and a very special guest. Jonathan, one of our listeners, is here with us today. So we're excited to have a show with not two of us, but three of us today. Jonathan, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, guys. Good to be here.
We're glad to have you. It's always fun to have someone else on the show. People could probably get tired of listening to just Brandon and myself. So, Jonathan, tell us a little bit about yourself, and obviously your family.
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Jonathan, as you said, born and raised in Chicago, but I've been living here in LA for the last, almost 20 years now. So, yeah, out here with my wife, Chelsea. We have our daughter, Maya, who is almost 15 months now, and just a bundle of energy.
So you're a little bit ahead of us. So you're probably more veteran dad than either Brandon or myself. As Brandon's got just over a 1 year old, I'm going on almost a 10-month old, but 15 months. That sounds like light years ahead of the time. So I mean, how is the 15-month stage?
I got to tell you, so you guys over the last couple of weeks have been repeating the idea that uh, every new month is your new favorite month or your new favorite week or whatever. And it just keeps getting better. And I got to tell you, the good news is that it does just keep getting better, at least where I stand. It's been, especially over the last, I want to say, maybe month. She's sprinting around the house, which is a whole other issue. But, um, talking, at least using words, responding to words. We can have the most ridiculous conversations, and sometimes it gets through to one of us, and that's great. So, yeah, it's a whole new world at this point.
That
That's
sounds.
exciting and scary at the exact same time.
How long?
All I heard
How?
was sprinting,
Yeah,
Jerry. I
that's
don't
why
know
I heard
about you.
sprinting, and I instantly was like, "Well, how long has she been walking for? How long has she been sprinting around the house?" Because I'm trying to prep myself. Not that every kid's the same, but
Yeah, she started walking a couple days after her first birthday. A few steps at a time, and then within one day, one quick day, it was like, okay, we're counting steps. Oh, that was 3 steps. That was 5 steps. Oh, that was 104. Okay, I'm done counting now. But yeah, she can motor at this point. If she goes too fast, she tumbles over her face first. But it's still she can move.
oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I mean, once they start to crawl, it's like a whole new game because they just go places. Today I was hanging out with Peyton and I was doing some laundry and I was moving from room to room and she was literally following me. It was kind of funny, like a little duck. She was following me back and forth, but she was having the time of her life. I figured it was wearing her out, so it was probably good practice for her and I was able to get some laundry done. So that was fun. She was able to go room to room without me having to carry her because I think my arms are getting kind of tired of lugging her back and forth.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a quick point where you realize you've built up these really weird muscles in your elbows, but you're tired of using them. So yeah, I'm happy she's walking around.
that's that dad strength, right? That they always talk
Hmm.
about. And you got to make sure you balance it out, though. Sometimes I'm always because I'm right-handed. I think always lifting with my right arm, and I'm always like, maybe I should try to hold her in my left arm for a while, see how that works out. But this show is named Dad Jokes. It's named Dad Jokes for a reason. So, Jonathan, do you got a dad joke for us to kick us off here today?
I do, and I'm honestly a little bit terrified that I'm gonna do the thing where I repeat one that you guys have already
You
done.
repeat one. Brandon's the only
Just
one who does
welcome,
that, so
welcome
it's
to the
okay.
club, Jonathan. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think by my count, you guys have done I want to say 105 or 110 jokes at this point. So uh,
At
there shouldn't be
least.
a shortage of
No,
dad
there's a
jokes, but
lot
I'm
out
still
there.
gonna say.
I probably forgotten some.
Well, all right. Well, I will start off, and hopefully this goes better than I can imagine. So, real quick, my wife and I are both marine biologists, which is I know a little bit weird, but we'll stick with that theme there. And I will ask you guys, how many tickles does it take to make a squid laugh?
I know
I'm
for a
already
fact
laughing.
this joke was not used
This has
because
never
I have
been
no
used before.
idea. So yeah, you won
I'm,
there because I have no idea. Brandon, you got any
how
guesses?
many tickles? I'm trying to think. It's I don't know something to do with like ink.
ink. I was thinking the same thing from like Finding Nemo, like when the thing inks.
Yeah. Do squids ink? Is that just octopi?
They'll ink.
Okay. How many?
10 tentacles.
That's
I
good.
feel like they should have been like come to our head, but I didn't. It didn't at all. That was a good one.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Marine
That's
biologist.
what makes a good dad joke too, though.
It is
Kind of
correct. Then
kick
you're like, oh,
yourself.
I should have known. So marine biologists, both you and your wife are marine biologists. That's pretty. That's pretty interesting. Is that how you guys met? Is like it's through work, or does it just happen to be both marine biologists?
No, we met at work, and I've been at well, we've both been at the same spot now for over 15 years. So yeah, met at work, do work together, sit and play in the ocean, and I'm not going to pretend it's all fun and games because it certainly isn't. But it's a good time. I can't complain all that much. I will, but I shouldn't.
That doesn't sound too bad at all. Hey, I met my wife at work too, so it's a great place to meet your wife. And I didn't meet Brandon at work, but he just followed me, so that's just what that's just what happens.
Kind of like Peyton. Yeah, that's exactly how we met.
Exactly. He just ducked
Jerry and I
and
almost
followed
fought the first time we met.
me. That is true, but we didn't, so it's all good now. But
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
so you said you did mention how many dad jokes we had on the podcast. How have you listened since the beginning, or what kind of brought you to our podcast, or when did you start listening to the episodes?
You know what? I actually looked back on that because I was trying to figure out exactly when I had started listening. I thought it was basically from day one, but I think it was a couple weeks in. It was early September of last year, and if I remember right, I found it because one of you posted on Reddit, I think on the Daddit subreddit, that you had this new podcast and just check it out. And I'm sitting there up with Maya in the middle of the night, and I see that post come up. It's like, okay, well, here we go.
There you go.
I got some other guys that are in the same boat with me.
That's funny. It is funny. Like all dads kind of like band together and go through the same things, and you can find people and Facebook groups, Reddit groups, all the different things. Like so that's great. But the big pressing question that Brandon and I both have is, through listening for about a year now, it sounds like who's got the better dad jokes typically? Is it Brandon or is it myself? Because that's what we need to know. Because he says it's always him. I say it's me. I don't
There
know
is a
who's
right
better.
answer to this question.
I agree.
So the right answer is the ones I'm going to give, which is I'm not going to single either of you out, but I will. Here's what I'll do. I'll say that Jerry, you came out strong in the beginning, real strong in the beginning, and besides the once or twice air of Brandon doubling up on a joke, he's been coming on strong lately, especially as he entered in more of that PG-13 territory, which
He is.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, is up my alley. But yeah, you're both doing great. How about that?
I like it. I like it. Well, Brandon,
I
I'll let
love
you,
that answer
because
you got a career in politics when the marine biology finishes up.
I'm gonna let you go give another dad joke. Then Brandon, I'll save mine to the end, and we'll see how we do today. Maybe we'll vote
Well,
at the end.
he mentioned PG-13. Honestly, it's just where we're going from here on out. At least that's where I am. So, Jerry, Jonathan, what's the difference between beer nuts and deer nuts?
I gave you this joke, Brandon. You literally are doing the same thing to me.
Oh, did you?
Yes, this is great. This is great because I literally gave this to you.
Oh, what great timing!
Beer nuts is more than $1, and deer nuts is under $1 or something like that.
Close enough. Beer nuts cost $2.35. Deer nuts are under $1.
There you go. So
Did
I'm
you say
gonna
this on the
definitely take the
podcast, or
W.
you told
one.
me this in
I
real
told
life?
I think I told you in person because I
Yeah,
think I told
I
you I
don't
was
believe
going to
you.
use it, and then I didn't because I told you it. This was like not too long
Yikes.
ago, like a month ago or so.
Maybe that's why I thought the joke was so funny when I read it.
It is funny. I think there's a T-shirt that I saw that said it, and that's what like made me like think of it. Like I'm like I gotta use that one because there was like a T-shirt at like a
Well,
gas station or something.
Jonathan, you were worried about recycling a joke. I semi-recycled a joke. Apparently, Jerry said it first, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he did have the answer or part of it.
Semi part of the
Yeah,
answer.
that's all right.
What? It's okay. That's becoming your thing now. I think that's your thing. You just recycle jokes or bring up old ones. It's
It's
okay.
been a couple. It's been a couple times. We'll be all right.
We are. So what else has been going on with you, Brandon? What's been going on this past week with the Banks household?
It's been a pretty eventful week. Well, one, just to start everything off, today Bryce is doing like he's in his like repeating stage, where he's starting to, you know, I mean, growing up, you always ran into parents who like they swore their kids were like saying words, and you'd be like, how do they know what they're saying? I'm turning into that person. Like Bryce will just make like random sounds. I know exactly what he's saying. I feel like, but he's really doing repeating of me and Kelsey, and it's actually kind of annoying because he still will not say. He'll try to repeat everything that we say, but will not say dada at all. Won't even try anymore. But Jerry, and I got a video of this, and this is one of those things where I feel like he said it. Kelsey feels like he said it. I swear to you, the kid said Brandon today. Like
You
I'm
don't say
repeating
dada,
Brandon
but he
back to
says
him. So
Brandon.
he won't say Brandon, but he'll say my actual. He won't say Dada, but he'll say my actual name. Doesn't make any sense. So we'll. I got to go back and watch that video, see if I got it clearly. But it was. We were really cracking up about that. He did have his 1 year checkup earlier in the week. Um, Everything is looking good. He for the 1 year checkup, he did have to get 4 different shots. It's just something for everyone listening. It seems that, especially if you kind of do a little research on it, it doesn't necessarily affect him a ton the first couple of days, but about a week out, which is about where we are, they start getting irritable. You could see fever, stuff like that pop up. So just do a little research on the shots so you can prepare yourself for it. But from a growth standpoint, he's still in like the 50th to 70th percentile in weight, but he jumped up to the 98th percentile in height, which was kind of crazy. My mom was commenting on it before his appointment that it felt like he had gotten like tall, and I mean we just see him every day, but that's one of those things that kind of confirms it a little bit for you. It does seem these percentiles. I can't wrap my head around it. Because like his, I really feel like his head is bigger than Peyton's, and I know it's based
Hey,
on
Brandon,
their time.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I didn't buy into these percentiles, and then they told me Peyton's head was 75th. I thought they were crazy, and then I went to put a onesie on her today, and this thing was not going over her head. I was like, this kid does have a 75th percentile head because this onesie did not want to go over her head. So
You know, I can't
maybe
wait.
they're
I
onto
can't wait for
something.
like 10 years from now. We are referring to like Peyton by their her percentile head or whatever. But he's standing for super long periods of time. If he's not aware that he's standing, he stands for like 10, 15 seconds. Then it's almost like he realizes that he's standing up and plops down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're kind of having some full stands coming, and he's walking clearly with he has a little walker. I think Jerry, you have it as well. For Peyton, he is walking across the room with it, and just I mean he's just talking nonstop. He gets that from me, but it's we're Jonathan mentioned it. I'm probably gonna say this for the next year and a half. Maybe not when he hits 2, but he. I mean, every week is just better and better and better. So you get for those listening who are at the beginning, and it may be a little hard. Sleep is tough. I mean, sleep is still tough at times, but it's great. How was your week, Jerry?
I was pretty good too. Speaking of walking, Macy decided to my dad had a party and he was getting rid of a bunch of stuff in a garage sale. So naturally, she wanted to take some of it to our house because we don't have enough stuff. So that included some baby stuff from when my nieces and nephews were little. And there's this little shopping cart that she took. And Peyton's been using that as her walker lately. And it's been kind of funny because she's like pushing the shopping cart around. But she loves like I feel like it's a game for her. She likes to stand and go between objects. So like the table, the couch, the shopping cart, something else, and like see how long she can go between objects. But like she won't let her hand go, but she's barely touching stuff. So I think she's getting pretty close to standing for longer periods of time. on her own, but she definitely likes to be up. On everything. We have a playroom. I was in her playroom with her today, and she's got 1,000 toys, and she wanted to just stand up on her old swing and use it as a. That's what she wanted to do for an hour. Not play with any of the toys, just play a game of how long can I stand up and move between different objects. So that's where she's at with that. Um, she's been super fun. She loves music. If you play music, she'll start dancing. It's awesome. It's like especially music that we played while Macy was pregnant, which I know they always said, but it actually does work. Like we played a lot of like Need to Breathe, which is one of our favorite bands while she was pregnant. And if we play songs by that, she'll start dancing. So Macy's got a couple of videos of that, which is super cute. And then
I
sleep
hope that's not the case for Bryce because we were listening to
to
some
like some
crazy
some
stuff.
crazy music,
Yeah,
just some old school hip
we
hop
got,
and
I mean, there's
stuff.
a reason his first birthday party was
That'd be
Notorious
great.
B.I.G. theme.
That's
It's
great.
going to be a lot of Detroit rap. We'll see. We'll see if that works.
You should try it just to see. Play the edited version maybe, but the beat will be the same. But she's no, she's been doing good. Her sleep's been mostly good. It's been weird. She's been the least consistent probably than ever. Like some nights she goes down super easy, other nights she's hard. Some nights she sleeps through. Some nights she wakes up a couple times. There seems to be no rhyme or reason the last week or two, but nothing terrible, just kind of odd. And then the hardest thing right now is she's starting to get picky with eating. Like I know I've mentioned it the last few weeks, but it really, I mean, just random stuff too. Like I think I was telling you, Brandon, I gave her potatoes the other day, mashed potatoes, and you would have thought I was feeding her like like chips. I don't know. She was so disgusted by these potatoes. I'm like, what? And then today I gave her she was eating like peanut butter toast at one point, and she like liked it, but then was also kind of like angry at the same time. It was weird. I don't know. She's getting weird with food, so we're keep trying and making sure she's eating, but it's becoming more challenging because early on she ate anything and ate it quick. So now she takes her time with everything too. I swear she's got her dad's ADD because she uh she can't pay attention for too long to anything. So but other than
So,
that, everything's good.
Jonathan, when you hear stuff like that, is that like registering as I had the same experience, or has sleep and eating been perfect for you guys?
Oh, you know, everyone hates me for saying this type of thing, but
Uh oh.
this has been the easiest baby. I swear to God, I don't
Oh
understand what's going on.
man.
Uh, she eats everything we put in front of her. She has been sleeping through the night for 9 months now. Um, you know, I got no complaints about this one at this point in time, except that she likes to just scream for no reason. Uh, Sometimes for like an hour, and not like a
Me
sad
too.
scream. She's having a great time scream. Uh, the kind that actually ruins the noise canceling on the headphones. If you scream at a certain pitch, it breaks them. They stop working. It's amazing. So she's got that going. But yeah, no. I mean, this is kind of why I contacted you guys in the first place because every time I'm listening to you guys, I'm hearing, "Hey, here's this thing that's happening." I'm going, "Oh yeah, I totally remember that. That was a month ago," and it's really pretty entertaining.
It is funny how like it almost seems to go in sequence because obviously we follow Brandon by a few months, and I'll remember him saying things, and then all of a sudden like a few months later I'm like, this is what Brandon was talking about, and it's not always exact same cadence, but it is pretty similar. So it is definitely fun to see, um, for sure.
Yeah, the cool thing too is you guys are further ahead in some cases at Peyton's age too. Like even like I mean, Bryce is standing now. It's been a journey for about 2 to 3 weeks, but it's cool to see the different I guess growth curves in that regard too. That babies because I mean everyone's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
So
tell you from what we had happen with Maya. She went from uh, standing herself up by pulling herself up on things to standing and just kind of bobbing back and forth. You mentioned the little cart, the walker, and strolling around with that. She had a little mouse cart that she worked backwards. I don't really know how, but she kept slamming it into the sliding door, which is glass, and we had to teach her a new word. It was no, and I know we're going to get more into that, but she ended up figuring out that her favorite way to get across the room was a overturned box. She'd just push it along the floor, and she did that for like 3 weeks until she started just walking by herself. So maybe you got that on your horizon.
I
Well,
like
if she
it.
likes boxes, you can visit us in Michigan because every day I have a new Amazon package being delivered. Shout out to my wife who I know is listening.
Oh, I like it.
I'll pay for that later.
There you will. So, a segment that we like to do on this show is basically we like to talk about baby gear. Most both Brandon and myself love baby gear. Our wives like some baby gear. But Jonathan, I wanted to ask you though before we get into some maybe baby gear that we want to go over this week. What is your favorite piece of baby gear of all time that you've used thus far?
Ooh, favorite all time. Um, you know, I will say it's one that we have been using for probably 4 or 5 months now. It is a clip-on chair. The brand is called Toogle, Toogel, I think, and it has these little rubber arms that go out and basically clamps underneath, and you slide it onto pretty much every table imaginable. If it's too thin a table, you just stick some coasters underneath it, and it'll clamp down nicely. But it folds together. You can carry it everywhere. Bring it to a restaurant. Bring it to a picnic table. Bring it to literally anywhere. And you got a chair, a nice, comfortable chair. And she loves sitting in it, and it makes it really easy for us to just drop her wherever we want and let her hang out and eat a snack. And that's I think that was a very cheap piece of baby gear that has gone a long, long way.
Yeah, I've seen those. We don't have one, but I've seen those, and I know a few people that use them. So that's definitely something that I think we should look into. My problem right now is my kitchen table is basically where we house all our papers and everything, and we seem to eat at the like table in the living room more so. But I would like to get back to eating at the kitchen table. I don't know, Brandon. Do you guys have that?
No, we looked at something like similar to that, and the kind of the thought process behind that was, at least the way I read it, is kind of why we went with the high chair we did. Where if you want, they're included in the meal. They're eating right next to you. You can push them right up to the table, stuff like that. But for things like that, we have the up seat, so we just
Mm-hmm.
sit them right on top of the table. We just did that uh, this past week when we took him up to Kelsey's parents' house for his little birthday extravaganza.
Nice. Well, a piece of baby gear I'm going to go over with you, Brandon, is actually one that I spent probably 45 minutes today trying to figure out the actual brand or where to find it, and I could not do so. So I'm going to do my best to describe it. But basically, what it is when Peyton started drinking water, Macy bought her like 4 or 5 different sippy cups. And I'm like, why does the kid need 4 or 5 sippy cups? And I'm like, it didn't matter to me. And then I quickly learned that it does matter because Peyton hates every one of them except for one of them. And the one she loves is the best thing ever because it not only is it her favorite, but it also works the best. It's easy for her to grab, it doesn't spill, it's easy to fill, where some of the other ones are obnoxious with all that. And I think it's called the Newbie Triton. But if you look that up, there's like 50 different things that come up. But basically, it's got the 360 handles on the side. It's kind of got like a hourglass shape, and it's got a top that doesn't fold in or nothing. It's just like kind of like a bottle top. And but if you knock it over or do anything, no water comes out of it, which is great. And she definitely is picky when it comes to sippy cups because the other ones, she don't really care for. Like the straw ones with the straws, and she's another one that's like a plastic nipple. Nope, doesn't like those. But this one is her favorite, and so I use it every time. I don't even try the other ones anymore. They stay in our cupboards. Macy, I think, tries them from time to time because I'll see them out, but nope, she only gets that one for me. And then the other thing, Brandon, is apparently I never need to buy a toy again because Peyton today played with her bibs, her little silicone bibs, for 45 minutes and thought it was the best thing in the entire world. So that was, yeah. She didn't want to play with anything else. I was trying to play with toys, and nope, she'd crawl over to where her high chair is, and her bibs sit in the bottom and play with them. And I probably pulled her away to play with something else 10 times. Nope, back to the bibs. So that's what she's getting for Christmas. Just a bunch of bibs.
Well, for me this week, it's something, and I'm going to keep probably bringing these up, but it's a gift that Bryce got for his birthday from his aunt, and it's a VTech Pop-A-Ball push and pop bulldozer. And this thing basically it's a bulldozer that has a function. The ball goes into basically a piece of it. It pops the ball out if you push it forward into where the bulldozer shovel is, and then it has a function that basically, as you push it forward, puts it right back. So it kind of repeats itself. It's teaching the kid to basically push it forward and backwards, and that thing can just keep, even if I'm just doing it, it'll keep Bryce entertained forever. But the funny thing is, at the birthday party, there were a bunch of kids who were from a few months older than Bryce to maybe a year older than Bryce, and that was the toy that everybody grabbed and was playing with. So not only does it work for some entertainment right now, it's probably a little premature because he's not walking yet, but it keeps him entertained when I use it, and I know that it's going to work in about a year at least.
Well,
So
Porter and Benson like
that's
that toy, and they're 4.
I yeah,
So they
it
were
was
all about it.
they also like anything.
That's true.
So
Anything
I
with
mean they
cars. If it's cars
yeah,
or trucks,
if it
they
has
will be all
wheels
about
on
it.
it,
Yeah, that's for sure.
absolutely.
That thing was pretty cool. I remember seeing it at the birthday party, and I was like, I was
Oh,
mesmerized by it.
I've been
So
having a time of my life.
I was just watching. I think Peyton stole one of the balls at one point, so she even liked it. So that definitely was a cool toy.
Jerry, I'll
But
tell you
Brant,
something. You had mentioned that your daughter likes the bib now. Um,
yes.
uh, Maya went dead silent for about a half hour. We actually kind of forgot she was just sitting on the living room floor at one point. And it turns out she had grabbed her sleep sack out of the crib, brought it into the living room, and was just zipping and unzipping the sleep sack quietly for like a half hour. And that has become her favorite toy in the last week. It's unbelievable. It's a silent bliss. It's great.
It's so crazy what entertains them. You know, she literally thinks these bibs are the greatest thing ever. And so I thought it was just me. And then my mother-in-law told me the other day, she's like, "Nope, she does that when I watch her every single time." And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, it works that they're silicone, that she's not hurting anything, but it's just funny. She just thinks they're so great. She'll play with one, she'll play with two, three, and they'll be all over the kitchen. But hey, it keeps her entertained, and she's not getting hurt, so I'm all for it. But let's get into today's topic, and you kind of alluded to it, Jonathan, a little bit. But it's funny, you actually brought this up to us, but me and Brandon had just talked about wanting to make this a topic soon, so it kind of was worked out perfectly. But that topic is basically the word no and how and when to introduce it, because it can be tricky. Because once, basically, what I discovered is once they start moving, you kind of almost have to start using the word. But like, do they understand it? How do you do it? And there's actually a lot of research out there on that. But I'll kind of get to you first because you kind of brought it up. So what's been your story with the word no?
Well, let me ask you two a question first about that.
Okay.
When was the first time you had to use the word no with your kids?
Oh, I know this vividly.
Mm.
Bryce is crawling, so he's playing, having a good time, and he is infatuated with Riley, our dog. Um, and Riley's food and water bowl is on the main floor, like most people's animal dishes are, and he is he just loves anything that Riley's into. Riley's toys, but really Riley's food and water bowl. So Bryce does a super crawl over underneath the fireplace is where Riley's stuff is, and I see him aiming directly for the water, and I look at him and say, Bryce. He kind of hesitates slightly, but still he's going. He's moving forward. He comes just short of the water bowl. He's kind of steadying himself so he can reach into it. I say, Bryce, no. He kind of stops, turns around, looks at me. Instant cry, just tears, which kind of gets you. But he didn't get into the water, and then ever since then he's been trying. He just goes for it full. He doesn't even stop. So we got to be quick on our feet. But that was definitely the first time for me.
Yeah, I probably have two answers. The first time I did say no was probably when she was colicky and crying. And I was probably like, no. But the first time I had to say no was similar to Brandon's story. I was sitting on the ground with her and she started crawling towards where we have this crate and on top of it is a plant. And she went to grab for the plant. And I remember I like pushed myself up because I like jacked my wrist up because I pushed off so quickly because I was afraid she was going to knock this plant down. And I was like, no, and the funny part about it all is it's a fake plant. And it was like it's not breakable. Like I freaked out like it was like glass, and it's not. And now she actually plays with it all the time. And it doesn't bother me. But like the first time, it's just in my head. I'm like, it's glass. It's gonna break. She's gonna hurt herself. So I remember saying no to her. And this wasn't too long ago, probably maybe a month ago or so. But I got hurt in the exchange, and it wasn't even it didn't even matter if she got it or not. But that was probably the first time I had to say no because she was getting into that. But the water dish and the dog's bowl, that's often when I have to say no is get away from that. Or if she's crawling towards plugs and cords, that's the other big one.
Yeah, so the water dish is that's a thing, man. That's we have a big old water dish. We got two pugs that roam the house and think that they're king and queen of the place, and
They
she
probably
wants to
are.
hang out with them, and she wants to drink their water, and she wants to throw all her toys in their water and all that fun
Oh
stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, I feel that when she chucked a oh, I don't even remember what it was, but it had batteries. She threw that in the water bowl last week, and we had some words. But it's funny, yeah. You don't really have to say no for a long time. It's one of those things where it doesn't register with you that until they're like 8 months old, you've never had to actually say no, don't do something. But then kind of like Brandon said, they start crawling around. You go, oh, now you can get into things. And for me, the first vivid memory I have of having to say no was she went right over to an outlet, started pulling the little outlet cover. I mean, these are supposed to be baby proof outlet
Yep.
covers and not supposed to be able to get their little fingers and ply them off. Oh
Yep.
no, she can do that. That's no problem. She's got she's got that down pat. And I remember saying no, and I'm shaking my head saying no. And she stared back at me, shook her head, smiled, and kept pulling it out. I was like, oh no. So we had
uh,
an issue where we eventually figured out that she thought me shaking my head in the no motion was hilarious. So by saying no to her, she was like, "Oh, he likes this. It's really funny. I'm gonna keep doing." Yeah, that was step one backwards in the whole adventure.
yeah, it's tough. And if you read like if you read a lot of stuff about it, a lot of people say that it can be tough and it can be confusing. That's why they almost tell you to use no when it is related to like safety and danger. Because if you start saying no for things that are just like annoying or you don't want them to do it, it becomes confusing and it doesn't make sense. So if you reserve it and use it less often, it becomes more impactful. So if they are going to grab something that's going to hurt themselves or do something like sometimes when Peyton's playing with the dog, they're fine, but sometimes I can tell she's playing someplace where my dog Raja is gonna like kick her leg or something because she doesn't like to be touched there. And I'm like, nope, nope, don't do that. And then she'll kind of look at me, and all it does is it gives me enough time to go grab her because she's probably gonna go right back to doing it. But as long as she pauses, that's what you need sometimes. Is you just need them to pause or stop. And then oftentimes what you want to do, or that I've had success with, is you just want to give them something different to do. So if they're going to grab the dog dish, instead of just saying no and pulling them away, give them a different toy, put them in front of something different, entertain them some other way. Otherwise, they're going to just go right back to it, or they're going to be mad that you took it away from them. Um, what did you read about saying no, Brandon, and kind of the best first steps?
So there's a couple of things, and one thing you hit on was a situation with like the dog where it could be a little confusing for a kid. Sometimes it's okay to play, sometimes, and they don't necessarily know what they're doing in that moment. It may not be. So some big things are almost setting up opportunities to present a no. Like you're setting it up so that you can introduce the no to them, so they start to actually understand what that means, and then it turns into they're playing with the dog, everything's fine. There's something that happens, they can recognize what that no actually means. But the first part of that is kind of being aware of your child's personality. Some and I know me, like I respond well to like positive reinforcement. Um, and so you can catch them doing good things, react positively to that, and also deciding on the rules with your spouse. So the worst thing that could happen is I have Bryce, and there are things that he's not allowed to do when he's with me, and then he's with Kelsey, or he's with my parents or her parents, and things are completely different. Because what'll happen is you begin to undermine these rules or the no that you're trying to establish. So number one, it's not necessarily with the kid; it's with the people who are watching your child, saying, "Hey, this is what is acceptable, and these are the things that we want to do." And then I know we'll get into this a little bit, but um, it may not necessarily be just no. One thing that Kelsey and I are implementing is a phrase. So what we're going to be basically do is we'll say Bryce's name. Hopefully he turns around and looks at us. That may not always be the case. Um, Say his name, you give him a look. That look isn't the same as kind of the normal everyday friendly look, I guess. We're hoping that we get to a point after these steps are implemented that could be the first kind of caution. Hey, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. After that, we're gonna say that's a no. It's just something I read. It actually sounds cheesy when you say it out loud, but it's something that we're gonna try to implement. So that's a no, because you say no so much in your everyday life, we don't want that to kind of be kind of drowned out. um, and I've read other things that kind of are almost the opposite of that, but we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. And then you hit the nail on the head, Jerry. Cha-ching! And you have to offer an alternative. So it's not only is it telling them no, waiting to see, and giving them a chance to stop doing what they're doing, but offer them something else that they can do. And then if they are actually doing what you want them to do, make sure you positively reinforce that behavior.
I like it. What did you have success with, or did you try maybe didn't have success with, Jonathan?
Well, so like I mentioned, when we were originally telling her no and shaking our head, which, it's a really natural thing to do when especially when you're staring at a child, is to say no and shake your head. Real quick, we figured out that she thought that was hilarious. So that kind of went out the window. And also kind of realizing what you both were just saying is that the word no, we're using no all the time for regular conversation. It doesn't have to be you're doing something wrong, you're in a life threatening situation. It can be, no, I don't want water right now. So I think one of the things that we have been successful with more recently, at least uh, I've noticed more recently, is based, this is going to sound terrible, based upon dog training. uh, because we do not have well trained dogs, but we did take at least one of them to dog training, and the terminology that we used for them was ah, ah. And if you make that ah, ah noise, it's a very sudden noise, but it's not no. And usually when I do that, I get an immediate turnaround and like, I'm not supposed to do this, which actually works out pretty well because then it doesn't confuse with just saying no all the time. And also it works with the dogs, so you can say it to the dogs, and she starts seeing that type of thing. But yeah, that's become a kind of a go-to for myself, which again I know sounds weird giving dog commands to the child, but um, it seems to be the way, and it really is important, especially with the safety things. Our dogs are antiques. One's 12, one's 13, and one is blind, one is deaf, which means you can startle either one of them very easily through something that they can't tell is happening. And they're not mean dogs, they're not big dogs either. Um, but we kind of want to teach her, hey, don't grab the pug's tail, don't grab their ears, don't poke them in the eye,
Hmm.
don't grab their feet. And the thing seems to be doing the trick. And honestly, today I started doing something where I was saying, either or no, and then she did the thing where she smiles at you, looks you right in the eyes, and keeps on like threatening to do it. She loves the remote for the TV, and she knows that it's going to make things happen. Tell her no, tell her and then when she keeps doing it, I'm saying this isn't a game, and I know she doesn't know what that means, but it's worked 3 times today, so I'm pretty psyched about that.
There you go.
I
That's
might
a
have to
win.
steal that. I like that better than our phrase.
Well, it's funny that it's funny you mentioned the dog because I noticed today myself, like I was telling the dog no, and I'm like, and she's by her, and I'm like, she's probably confused, or vice versa. Even the dog was probably confused because I was if I tell Peyton no, and so it is important if you do have animals in the house too, sometimes to like almost differentiate it because if you're saying it all the time, and I think we all have dogs, and you probably tell your dogs no quite often. At least I know I tell my dog no all the time, so it loses some of its power or meaning, or it just becomes background noise. So, Brandon, you alluded to it, but consistency is key, and then being able to have a phrase. I read that. I think I read that same exact article that said that's a no, that's a saying that can be productive. But having a saying or something that you're consistently using, and not just you, your spouse, anyone who watches the kids or is around the kids often, that can be important. And then when they're young, like now, it's mostly about safety and getting them to stop, and then getting them to do something that is safe. But as they get older, sometimes kids, as they start to be able to communicate better, if you tell them no, can become very emotional. And what a lot of things I read said that as they become emotional, and you tell them no, you don't have to necessarily explain to them or try to get them to understand you in that moment. Let them be emotional, let them be upset, and then later go back and kind of talk to them about like, hey, this is why that was a no. This is why I told you to stop. And they kind of explain to them later on. We're not at that point yet. Obviously, the kids don't understand that, but it is something I read that I think makes sense. But you, like you said, whether it's that noise or a phrase, something that can get their attention, that makes them stop. And whatever it is, I think if you have success with it, use it, right? As long as it stops
Yeah.
and it keeps them safe, because that's most of the time. If you're saying no, is what it is. The hard part is not telling them no when they're just being sort of annoying, annoying, or like when they're just doing something that's like grabbing your face. You're like, okay, well, yeah, they're gonna do that. So just telling them no, unless they're poking your eye or something. But I think that you want to be consistent.
Well, you said we're not at the explanation stage. I explain everything to him. It's just part of my process. I know he doesn't understand it, but hey man, this is no, we can't walk over. This is Riley's stuff. We have to. You just catch yourself doing that
And he's like,
at all
okay,
times.
Brandon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why
we
I don't
find
say
ourselves
dad.
doing the
He's like,
same thing. Yeah, we find
you
ourselves
do,
doing
you
the
do
same thing
sometimes.
where it's a uh, usually not a whole sentence explanation because that goes way over her head. But as she's learning more words, which is happening really rapidly, at least recognizing them, maybe not necessarily saying them, we could say like no or hot or that's not yours or something like a hot cold. Those are good ones for us. That's usually the biggest issue. She tries to grab a hot cup of coffee or a cold can of beer, and we can't have either of those things. So yeah,
Darn. One that's worked for us pretty well, actually. I just thought of this, but I tell Peyton to be nice often when she's around the dog, and she seems to kind of calm down. Like sometimes she'll like, because she like likes to play a little bit rough, but if I'm like be nice and I kind of say it with that tone, she kind of like calms down. So I don't know if it's just in my head, but it is something that I tell her, and I think it also calms the dog down though when I say it, because like sometimes I'll tell the dog that when Peyton was really little, I would tell her the same thing. Is like be nice, and I think that they both kind of start to chill when I do it, because sometimes they'll both get riled up, but that phrase like be nice seems to at least work somewhat. But it's the explanation thing that's Macy to a T, Brandon. I'll hear her and she'll be like, no, if you do that, you're gonna get hurt, and if you get hurt, we're gonna have to go
Yep.
to the hospital. And she's going through the whole explanation. I'm like, yeah, she doesn't know what you're saying. She's already looking at the red ball rolling on the ground and wants to get down and grab that.
It's just a part of our process.
But
But I
yeah.
mean, what you're saying is, and Jonathan hit on this. It's dog commands because we went
It
through we
is.
went through the training as well. And one issue we had with both of our golden retrievers were if they're going to get a treat and they go for it, what do we have to tell them? Be gentle. Like that's our phrase. Be gentle. Be gentle. And it calms them down. They go for it very calmly, and it's the tone. We're I mean we don't have to really get into it, but we're talking to a marine biologist. We're all animals. Like it's and a lot of this, a lot of this comes down to that. There are similarities between it. So, long story short, look up dog training videos. That's the if you don't remember anything that
Just
we
no
said
shock
today,
collars.
look up
No shock collars.
dog
That's where
training
we draw the
videos.
line.
I'm kind
Uh,
of joking.
oh, that's funny. No, but it's an important topic, and I think it's funny because obviously we got what 9, almost 10 months, a year, and 15 months in the room right now. But this is going to be a problem that we're dealing with until they're 18 and beyond. I mean, because there's just different ways of no. As kids grow older, you're going to continually be telling them no. You're going to continually be telling them what they can and can't do, and kind of, I think you have to adapt it as they get older too. Because you're going to get to a stage where you tell a kid no, and they're going to do it, and you're going to know that they know they weren't supposed to do it, and that's a different conversation than right now. I think what you're trying to do is just teach them what can hurt them, and it's hard because as a parent you don't want to see them actually get hurt because that might teach them, but that's not what you want to see because that doesn't result in anything fun. Like Peyton today was trying to like play with this box, but it had like those edges, where you can get like razor burn almost from a box, and she was like trying to rub, and I'm like, you're gonna hurt yourself, and you can let her do it, but then I mean that's not. I don't think any parent wants to just let their kid do that at this age. So, that's when you turn into to no and take it away, give them something different. But it is something I think we're gonna have to continually adapt and grow with for years and years and years. Fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way you want to look at it. So, it does adapt. I guess is my point.
I will say that we are in the last couple of weeks starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel for obviously not for her doing things that she shouldn't be doing, but for recognizing that the word no actually means something. So really the last couple of weeks, no for her has meant no, I don't want that, or no, I don't want to do that, which means now I can actually, this is just mind blowing to me. I can ask her a question and she can either say yes or no, either verbally or with her head. So like today it was, you look tired. Are you ready for a nap? And she's like, yeah. It's like, it's an hour early for your nap. Are you sure? Yeah. You really want to go to bed now? Yeah.
That's
And she
crazy to think about.
right in. I mean, she rolled around for a while, but I mean, she wanted to go to bed. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing where with no, it's um, you want water? No. It's a process of elimination. But do you want water? No. Do you want a waffle? No. Do you want yogurt? No. Do you want eggs? Yeah. And you can get there, and it's really nice to be able to have no as a positive word at this point for her to use.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think one thing you mentioned too is introducing yes along with no can be beneficial because if they understand that some things are yes and positive and good, then I think they understand what the opposite side of that is too, which is the no. I mean, you got to have both sides of the coin because if you don't have just the yes or just the no, then yes loses its power a little bit too. So I think that's something that maybe I'll even try to introduce more is the word yes because I don't think we say yes very often. I was trying to think. I'm like I don't feel like I say yes very often.
I feel like
The
yes in the
no just
past
might be
for us
more
was just
impactful.
applause.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yay.
yay! That's
Yeah.
what we do that a lot. Yay! And clap, which is her favorite thing to do. But yeah, just the word yes itself. I guess I didn't think about that, but like even like just a toy, like I said, like if she's grabbing something and you're like, no, that's a no or no, and then you put something in front of her and say yes. I wonder if that has positive effects. I've never done that to this point, but it's something to think about, I guess.
Yes.
Yes, I like it. Well, this, like I said, it's a good topic. It's an important topic. It's something that we're continually learning, and I'm sure we're going to talk about multiple times here on the show as we continue on because it's not like it's going to go away or anything like that. But like you said, Jonathan, a little bit earlier, You said 15 months has been great. What has kind of been in the last month or so one of the coolest things that you've experienced as a dad, that's brand new?
Last last few weeks, like I mean, kind of like I mentioned, it's suddenly we're having conversations, like the actual. I mean, we're not. She's not speaking full sentences back to me, but we're having conversations where I can get to know her personality a little bit more. It sounds strange just through, saying yes and no, or pointing at things or getting really excited about it. But, you know, the words that she's picking up now are much more useful, I'll say. They're very explicit, not not like PG-13 explicit, but like very specific. She her favorite thing in the world right now is bubbles and the bubble machine. So she just, whenever she's upset, you say, "Hey, what do you want?" And she just goes, "Bubbles." And take her outside, put the bubble machine on, fixes it like magic. It's kind of wonderful. But I will tell you the weirdest thing that she's into right now that has brought a lot of joy to my heart, but also weirds me out a bit, is she loves belly buttons, and she can say belly button, and she likes to point out everyone's belly button, including her own.
Oh
So
boy, that's fun.
we go to a restaurant, and she's pulling up her entire clothing and just pointing at her belly button to strangers, and we're like, "I'm so sorry, but yeah, well, she's a baby. I'm sorry."
That's
Well,
awesome.
one of Bryce and I's favorite song is an old Veggie Tales song. That's the belly button song.
Hmm,
So if you haven't heard that yet,
I have not. I'm gonna
you
write
should
that
you should.
down.
It's Veggie Tales belly button. It's about a caterpillar named Khalil who
I
has
don't think I've heard that
he
one.
has no he has no belly button.
I've heard a lot of Veggie Tales, but I don't think I've heard that one. That's
Yeah,
funny.
it's fun. It drives Kelsey crazy because I listen to that at least once a week. And Bryce and I, Jonathan, you mentioned earlier yelling for an hour straight.
Hmm.
That is our mo. I just do it right back at him. And
Well, Well, Peyton started getting a little fussy tonight before Macy came home, so I put on your favorite show, Brandon Bluey, and literally I have a video of it too. She just starts like bobbing up and down and clapping and was like the most geeked of all time. I'm like, "Yep, this we're going to use this next time you get cranky." And she was all about it. So she definitely loves the Bluey theme song. So I don't think she cares that much about the cartoon right now, but the theme song, that's your jam, and she's getting it on for that. So that worked to calm her down in about zero point 0.2 seconds. So Bluey for the win there.
Let me tell you
But
guys, the theme song thing is
mhm.
strong in this baby here. Her two favorite things to dance to are the theme song for The Office and
Yes,
the theme song for MASH.
you guys are
Loves
nice.
doing an
it.
amazing job.
I'm
Loves
a
it.
That's all you
huge
needed to
Office
say.
fan, so I'm all about that. That's what we
That's
need to
that's
get her
dad.
on The
That's dad of the
Office.
year right there. That's dad of the
Yes,
year.
that's what we should have Peyton be for Halloween. Is Dwight? That'd be the best thing ever.
As long as you don't
That'd
ever
be
be
great.
Meredith, you're okay.
Oh no, never that. Or Angela.
Oof.
Oh, that's awesome. We're gonna have to start doing that. But you know what time it is, Brandon? It's time for me to show you why I'm better at this dad joke game than you are. Because I'm not gonna
Ooh.
repeat one. You ready? You guys ready
I
for
didn't.
this?
I didn't technically repeat one, but go
You're
ahead.
gonna you're gonna know mine now. It's gonna be horrible. All right. So what is the difference between black eyed peas and chickpeas?
I have no idea. Is it like a reference to Black Eyed Peas, the group?
Well, you see, black eyed peas can sing a song, chickpeas can hummus one.
Ooh.
That was actually
Ooh.
pretty good.
That's
That's pretty good.
clever. It's decent.
That was the
It's
third best
decent.
joke of the day.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay. The third best joke of the day. I will definitely say Jonathan's was probably the best, but I'm putting mine in second.
I've
You're
said
a
that for other guests and not meant it. I do mean it this go around. It
I
it
won't
made me
tell them.
laugh and made me think at the same time. Hopefully they're not listening. I'm joking.
He's calling you guys. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it definitely yours was the best today. Mine was almost a last minute addition. I literally said to this morning, like, I'm gonna find a good dad joke, and I forgot until just a little bit ago. So it made me laugh, and that's where we
Wow.
went with that.
It sounds like he's making excuses to why he had the third best joke today.
I mean, that's what I heard, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. I blame it on the Lions. They got me out of my
Maybe you should
funk.
try to hum us a joke.
Hummus a joke. I like it.
Mm.
Well, Jonathan, we appreciate you being on the show. We appreciate you listening from the beginning. Definitely anyone out there that listens that wants to be on the show or wants to talk to us, let us know. But
We got to get Jonathan back on. This
we
can't just
do.
be a one-off.
Yeah, we gotta
Happy
get
to
we
do
gotta get
so.
Jonathan on, and we does let me ask you this: does Maya like to touch other babies' faces?
Oh yes, 100%. So our childcare situation is that we have a nanny share with another family. So the other family lives a couple miles away. We drop her off basically every morning at their house. They work from home. The nanny comes there, and basically it's the two of them. And he's I think 3 months older than she is, and they are all in each other's faces all the time. To the point where at this age they've started to get a little upset about it, and they started hitting each other because they're getting
Oh
too into their
gosh.
own faces. But that's the whole thing. But yeah, no, they. I mean, I think honestly, she's finally starting to grow out of the I need to touch every other person, including babies' faces, but not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. Well, it's funny because Bryce is definitely at that stage, but I think Peyton's at the stage where she sits there and lets other people touch her face. She plays no defense at this point in time, so we got to teach her some defense. It's not just Bryce, and other babies always like try to touch Peyton, and she just kind of like looks at them as she's getting like smacked in the face, and I'm like, you can move, you can do something, but she doesn't. She hasn't quite
She
figured
was
that
she
one
was
out yet.
talking back to Bryce a little bit.
Oh, she'll talk. She'll talk to anyone. She can talk like her dad. There's no doubt about that. She is loud. But yeah, Jonathan, it's been great having you on here. We really appreciate you being here. Like we said, anyone out there, please let us know if you want to be on the show or have any ideas for topics on the show. Like us on all our social media pages, all the other good stuff. But yeah, until next time, I'm Jerry, joined here by Jonathan and Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.